The uncharted world of HFY. The intergalactic war between the Kuzer lizardmen and the Galactic Coalition had reached a critical turning point. For years, the galaxy had been at war, its very existence threatened by the cunning, ruthless lizardmen who sought to dominate, enslave, and erase the lives of countless species. The humans of Terra Prime, renowned for their ingenuity and fearless determination, had risen as unexpected heroes in this struggle. Their forces, alongside the mysterious and powerful anger of Ugara, had turned the tide. The once invincible lizardman fleet was being torn apart, their planets falling one by one, and the High Council could almost taste victory. Yet, as the war raged, a new, unexpected problem surfaced, one that threatened to undo all their hard-won progress. HFY was an obscure, uninhabited world, a planet so far off the radar that no one had bothered to study it. Twice the size of Terra Prime's moon, HFY was covered in dense, deciduous forests, vast mountain ranges, and sprawling lakes seemingly untouched by intelligent life. To most, it was little more than a backwater world, the type that rarely demanded attention. That was until the lizardmen, in their desperation, had built a small outpost there. The reasons for their choice were unclear, perhaps a final refuge for the lizardmen, or a hidden site for some unknown weapon they were trying to build. But one thing was certain: the lizardmen had a purpose there, and it was up to the coalition forces to stop them before it was too late. Despite the apparent insignificance of the planet, the High Council knew this could be the decisive blow. If the lizardmen's operations on HFY went unnoticed, the war could turn. With a classified mission in mind, the Council dispatched a small militia to the planet, hoping to uncover whatever the lizardmen were planning and eliminate the threat once and for all. Their operation was led by General Tuxi, a highly decorated alien soldier who looked just as one would imagine an alien in the stories. Tall, grayish, with large black eyes that seemed to read your every thought. Tuxi was a veteran of many campaigns and an officer known for his ruthless efficiency. Accompanying him on the mission was Flix, the wise hierophant of the Terrasa species. This group of turtle-like aliens, known for their intellect and their ability to remain calm under pressure, had been invaluable allies. In addition, 5 members of the Terrasa were dispatched, each specializing in tactical operations and diplomacy. But the most intriguing part of the team was the inclusion of 3 humans, the triplets from Terra Prime: Jack, Jock, and Jake. Though small in number, the triplets had proven themselves time and again in the field, particularly when things went awry. These fraternal brothers, each with different personalities, but the same indomitable spirit, were known for making unpredictable but highly effective contributions to any mission. Jack, the tallest, was the brains of the trio, calm, calculating, and methodical. Jock, the middle child, was quick-witted and resourceful, always ready with a plan when the unexpected occurred. Jake, the youngest and most impulsive of the brothers, had a heart of gold and a fierce loyalty to his comrades. Together, they represented the best of humanity's fighting spirit, and it was clear that General Tuxi trusted them, even if the other species on the mission were skeptical. HFY itself was an enigma. The planet seemed quiet, but there was a feeling that something was hidden just beneath the surface, like a storm waiting to break. After landing, the militia quickly established a small camp near a shallow stream, setting up perimeter defenses and gathering equipment. With no radio communication possible due to the planet's strange atmospheric interference, their only line of defense was their wits and ability to adapt to the hostile environment. The humans, being from a Class 15 death world, the most dangerous type of planet known in the galaxy, had little trouble adapting. The triplets were already accustomed to hostile environments and spent their days mapping out the terrain, scouting nearby areas, and gathering whatever information they could on the Kuzer lizardmen's movements. Their task was simple: find the lizardmen's base and gather intel, all while avoiding detection. Despite General Tuxi's strict orders for everyone to stick together, he didn't bat an eye when the triplets decided to go out on their own. They had proven themselves before, and it was common knowledge that humans were capable of things that others simply couldn't understand. What they lacked in size, they made up for in resourcefulness and determination. Their mission was vital, and success was expected. Days passed, and things seemed relatively calm. But as expected, things didn't go as planned. The required update from the triplets, which was supposed to come at the end of the day, never came. The hours passed into the next day, and then another, but still, no word. General Tuxie tried to contact them through various means, but there was no response. The radio waves were completely blocked by GRA's strange atmospheric anomaly. Tuxie grew concerned. Though he had faith in the humans, he was also a strategist. He understood the dangers of this type of planet, and he knew that without communication, he was left in the dark. His anxiety turned to worry when the third day passed, and he had no word from the triplets. "Where are they?" he muttered to himself. The situation was starting to feel ominous. They had been on a simple scouting mission, but now they were missing. It was only when the fourth day dawned that everything changed. The triplets returned. Their faces were tired, their clothes filthy, and their expressions distant. But they were alive. They walked back into the camp with a sort of unsettled calm, as if nothing had happened, but the entire camp could feel the change in the air. General Tuxie was the first to confront them. His voice, though firm, held an undercurrent of relief. "In the name of the seventh moon, where have you three been?" Tuxie demanded, his large black eyes narrowing. "I thought we had lost you. A full month has passed. Why didn't you contact us?" The three brothers exchanged glances, the weight of their silence telling more than words ever could. Finally, it was Jack, the eldest, who spoke. "It's complicated," he said, his tone soft. "I don't think you'd believe us if we told you." Jock, the middle child, added, "Wait, did you say month?" "We thought it was just a week." Jake, the youngest and the one with the most freckles, was the last to speak. "I'm not sure what happened, but time here, it's different." The gravity of their words hit Tuxie hard, his jaw tightening. The triplets had returned, but something had changed in them, something that even General Tuxie couldn't understand. The lost month. General Tuxie stood still, his mind racing. The trio of human brothers before him, Jack, Jock, and Jake, seemed unshaken by their ordeal, but the fact that they had returned after a month of absence left Tuxie with more questions than answers. A month, he thought, disbelief still clouding his thoughts. The humans had only gone out for a few days. How could they have been gone for so long? What had happened out there? But it wasn't just the passage of time that concerned him. It was the way the triplets looked at him, the way they seemed to carry an air of confusion, like they had returned from an entirely different world, not just a few days in the wilderness. Jack, the eldest of the three, stood with a furrowed brow, scratching at his curly hair as if trying to make sense of the inexplicable. His eyes, normally filled with confidence and wit, looked vacant, tired, and filled with something unsettling. We don't know how to explain this," Jack began, his voice strained. "It's the way time works here. It doesn't make sense." Jock, ever the practical one, frowned deeply and ran his fingers through his short blonde hair. "When we left, it was just a few days of reconnaissance. We didn't think anything strange was happening, but as soon as we set foot on that damn planet's surface, everything felt off. Time wasn't moving like we thought it should. It was like we stepped into a different reality." Jake, the youngest, who had always been more impulsive and quick to act, now seemed hesitant. He fidgeted nervously with his freckled hands. "It doesn't feel like we were gone for a month. It feels like we only lost a few days. But then why is everything so different? The stars, the sun, it's all wrong." Tuxie stared at them, perplexed. There were too many inconsistencies to ignore. Time itself had behaved in a way none of them could have expected. The triplets had returned, But something about them wasn't the same. Something had shifted in their minds, or perhaps in their bodies. But what? What do you mean different? Tuxie asked, his voice more stern now. He wasn't sure if they were just experiencing post-mission confusion, or if they had truly encountered something beyond their understanding. Jack looked around the camp, as if looking for something to ground him before continuing. We noticed the first weird thing when we decided to take a break near the lakes. We sat there, talked about what we were doing. Everything felt fine. But after we rested, we realized something. The air itself was different. The more we tried to work out the details, the more disoriented we became. It wasn't just the air, it was the land itself. It pulled at us. It stretched us. We tried to keep track of time. But after what felt like days, we couldn't get a solid read. The sun didn't move in the way it should have. Jake interrupted, his voice suddenly trembling with frustration. It felt like we were stuck in some kind of loop, over and over again. We'd walk around the same area, thinking we were making progress, only to end up at the same damn spot hours later. And the stars, they kept changing in the sky. We thought we were losing our minds. Jock stepped forward, his face hard with realization. That's when we noticed it. We weren't just out of sync with time. Time on this planet was completely warped. The longer we stayed, the more it became clear. There was something about GRA itself, something in its atmosphere that made the flow of time irregular. We couldn't escape it. We would leave a place and come back to it after hours, only to find that days had passed. Tuxie listened carefully, his mind trying to piece together what the triplets were saying. GRA was no ordinary planet. It wasn't just another uninhabited world. It had a mysterious quality that defied the natural laws of time. But why? What was causing this anomaly? Flix, the Hierophant, had been quietly observing the situation from the shadows, his ancient eyes glimmering with an unsettling mix of curiosity and concern. Finally, he spoke up, his deep voice filled with an ancient wisdom. General, this planet may not be as it seems. GRA could be inhabited by something older than the Accuser, something that controls the very fabric of time. We may have stumbled upon a world tied to forces we do not understand. Tuxie felt his chest tighten at the implication. If the planet had a force that manipulated time, it could be far more dangerous than he ever imagined. They weren't just dealing with lizardmen. They might be dealing with something ancient, predating even the oldest civilizations in the galaxy. This isn't just about a military base anymore, is it? Tuxie muttered under his breath, his mind racing. He looked back at the triplets, his voice growing more serious. You're telling me that the planet itself is playing tricks on us. Is that it? Jack nodded grimly. Exactly. But there's more. We found something. Something beyond the lizardmen's outpost. A structure hidden deep in the forest. We think it might be the source of the anomaly. It doesn't match any known architecture. It's ancient. Tuxie raised an eyebrow, feeling the weight of Jack's words. Ancient. How old are we talking here? Older than anything we've seen, Jock replied. We had to approach with extreme caution. There were signs that something or someone had been there long before the lizardmen showed up. The structure gave off a strange energy, like it was alive. A sense of dread settled over Tuxie. If the lizardmen had discovered this anomaly, it could mean far more than just a lost base. It could mean the awakening of something far worse. He glanced over at Flix, who nodded slightly. The Hierophant was no stranger to ancient, mysterious forces, and the look in his eyes told Tuxie all he needed to know. Take me to this structure, Tuxie ordered. Now. The brothers nodded and began gathering their equipment, the gravity of their discovery setting in. This mission had just become far more dangerous than any of them had anticipated. Before they could leave, Tuxie turned to the rest of the team. Prepare for a full sweep of the area. We're not leaving anything to chance. As they set out toward the location the triplets had found, the air around them seemed to grow heavier. The thick, oppressive atmosphere of GRA was unnerving, its forests alive with an eerie stillness, broken only by the distant calls of unknown creatures. It was clear that something was stirring beneath the surface. The triplets led the way, each of them carrying a grim expression. This wasn't just another mission. This was a test, not only of their strength, but of their understanding of the universe itself. The heart of GRA. The journey toward the mysterious structure was slow. The dense forest of GRA, filled with towering trees and thick vines, seemed to press in on them from all sides. The air was thick with an unsettling stillness, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or the distant cry of a strange creature. It was as if the planet itself was holding its breath, waiting for something. Jock, and Jake led the way, their experience in the wilderness of Terra Prime making them the perfect guides. Despite the bizarre events of the past few days, their confidence was unwavering. The brothers, though still unsettled by the time anomaly they had encountered, had their eyes fixed firmly on the prize, the ancient structure that might hold the answers to the planet's mysteries. General Tuxie and Flix followed close behind, each lost in their own thoughts. Flix, the Hierophant, had remained eerily silent, his ancient wisdom not lost on the rest of the team. His understanding of the forces at play on GRA was far more nuanced than anyone realized. Tuxie, ever the strategist, kept his focus on the task at hand, but couldn't shake the unease building in his chest. The brothers' discovery had altered everything. This wasn't just a military mission anymore. This was something more. As they approached the coordinates the brothers had mapped out, the trees began to thin. The thick canopy overhead parted, revealing a clearing where the ground was smooth and perfectly flat, as though it had been carved away by an unseen hand. The air here felt cooler, almost unnaturally cold, and the quietness seemed to deepen, as if the very world was waiting for them to make the next move. In the center of the clearing stood what could only be described as a monolithic structure, an ancient organic-looking edifice that stretched upwards, its surface alive with an eerie pulsing light. It was a jagged shape, almost crystalline, with veins of glowing energy running through it like the pulse of a living thing. The architecture did not resemble anything known to any of the species present. It was neither completely alien nor completely familiar, but it exuded power, something far beyond the scope of the Lizardmen or the Coalition's technology. This isn't just a structure," said Jack, his voice low with awe as he approached the monument. "It's more like a living organism. I've never seen anything like this." Jock nodded, his gaze fixed on the glowing veins that pulsed across the surface of the structure. "It's like it's breathing, or feeding off something. It's unlike any architecture I've ever studied." Flix stepped forward, his ancient eyes narrowed in concentration. The ancients were never bound by the same principles of design as we are. They did not just build structures. They imbued them with purpose. This structure, it's not just a monument. It's alive, in a sense. It's tied to the very fabric of this planet. Tuxie, who had been scanning the perimeter for potential threats, turned his attention to the strange structure. His voice was tinged with both concern and awe. "Are you suggesting that this is some kind of weapon, or something worse?" Flix turned to him, his eyes glowing faintly with the wisdom of his kind. "It is not a weapon, General, but it has been here for eons. It is not something the Lizardmen could have built. This structure predates them. It might predate the galaxy's known history." The realization sent a cold shiver down Tuxie's spine. They were not dealing with a simple outpost or military strategy. They were standing on the threshold of something ancient, something older than the war itself. The triplets exchanged glances, each of them feeling the weight of the moment. Jack stepped forward again, cautiously running his hand over the surface of the structure. The moment his fingers made contact, there was a sudden, sharp pulse of energy, and the entire structure hummed to life. A brilliant light erupted from the veins in the stone, illuminating the clearing with an unnatural glow. It was as though the monument had sensed their presence, reacting to their touch. "What the hell?" Jake muttered, stepping back as the air around them seemed to crackle with energy. Before anyone could react further, a low rumble emanated from deep within the structure. The ground beneath their feet began to tremble, and the monument's light intensified. The structure seemed to come alive, shifting and pulsating as though it were responding to something or someone. It was as if the monument itself were trying to communicate, though no one understood the language it was speaking. "Get back," Tuxie barked, his voice sharp. "We don't know what we're dealing with." But it was too late. The ground beneath their feet ripped open, as if the very fabric of the planet had torn apart. A massive opening appeared before them, leading down into the darkness below. The energy from the monument intensified, shooting beams of light into the sky, illuminating the entire landscape in an otherworldly glow. The hum of the structure grew louder, deafening in its intensity. "It's opening something," Jock shouted, his eyes wide with realization. "This isn't just a structure, it's a gateway. It's opening a doorway to something beyond." The triplets, who had been the first to approach, stepped back as the rumbling continued. Flix muttered something under his breath, his ancient voice low and filled with dread. "I know what this is. I've heard whispers of it in the old texts. This is no ordinary doorway. This is a bridge between this world and something else." Tuxie felt his heart race. This was more than they could have anticipated. If they had stumbled upon some ancient technology that could link GRA to another dimension, or even another time, it would mean disaster, not just for the mission, but for the entire galaxy. "We need to shut this down now," Tuxie ordered, reaching for his weapon, his mind racing with possibilities. "Prepare yourselves, everyone. Whatever is on the other side, we don't know if it's friend or foe. We can't risk letting this open any further." But it was already too late. The opening was growing wider, and as they stood at the precipice, the light that poured from the structure shifted, taking on an eerie hue, a dark violet, almost like the color of the night sky. It seemed to pulse in rhythm with their own heartbeats. The air felt heavy, as though something was pressing down on them from all sides. And then, without warning, a figure emerged from the light. It was tall, humanoid in shape, but with features that were nothing like anything they had ever seen. It moved with the grace of a predator and the majesty of a deity, its form radiating an aura of both calm and terrifying power. The figure's eyes glowed, matching the same eerie hue of the light, and its presence felt like a wave crashing over them. "Who dares to disturb the bridge of the ancients?" The figure's voice rang out in their minds, echoing with a tone that was both mesmerizing and unnerving. Tuxie drew his weapon, but Jack stopped him, his hand raised. He could feel something deep within him, a call from this being. "It's not an enemy, General," Jack said, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's something else. Something old. Something wise." Tuxie hesitated, his instincts torn between caution and something else, something far more profound. The figure spoke again, its voice now laced with ancient wisdom and sorrow. "You have found the bridge, but you are not ready. You seek power, but power comes at a cost." The figure's eyes locked with Jack's, and in that moment, he felt a deep connection, a bond that spanned time, space, and something much older than the universe itself.